Here I am at Fruit Haven Eco Village in Ecuador, about to bring up a bunch of plants on the quad, some fruit trees to plant on my homestead lot. So we've got 2 purple Matoas and 1 green Matoa. The plants were brought here from Borneo by legendary rare fruit collector Jason Gavested. And then over here we got some Borneo pink passion fruit and then a grafted lemon tree along with some chop and drop plants. See y'all at the top of the mountain! I made it up here. It's a bit windy today. We're at about 850 meters elevation above sea level, and when I was down by the river, the Rio Zamora, it's at about 760 meters elevation. You may remember the past video that I did about the dragon fruit post. Well, right here, the red dragon fruit plant, this is the one that's red on the inside and is really nice and sweet. It's starting to give a bunch of shoots, so eventually one of them is going to decide to be the leader. It's going to pop up here and grow off the top of the post and give me some fruits. I was going to do a big house right here, but I don't have enough money right now, so I'm probably going to do a smaller hut right here between where the bathroom and the future larger house is going to be. Right down there you can see that row of vetiver grass right here that I planted to help with erosion, and then this patch of, they call it yerba lohana. It's this nice grass. It's not the same as Napier grass, but it has some similar qualities. I just prefer it because it's juicier and easier to cut, and it's one of the preferred foods of the koi, which Ecuadorians raise a lot for me, but I may end up having some for manure for the fruit trees in the vegetable garden, and because they're cute. So the trees I'm going to take off the quad and store over there in the shade under that big tree, and then tomorrow morning we're going to come up with some people, mark out some contour lines on the other hill, and plant these Matoas, the grafted citrus, and a couple other things. Got to weed the pico plants. This is a really nice anti-parasitic herb with a really nice flavor, and there's some grass growing up around it. It's used a lot in Peruvian cuisine and Ecuador as well, and they know it as an anti-parasitic, and they also know it as a flavorful herb. It's got kind of a minty flavor, and it's indescribable. It really has a magical flavor, and I'm really happy that it's growing here. It kind of volunteered itself. It's growing out of some guinea pig manure that we threw over here. And this is the pepper plant. I took a selfie a few months ago when I was planting this pepper. You may have seen it. It's a super spicy pepper. Anyways, now the tiny plant that I took a picture of my mug with is producing lots of really beautiful spicy peppers, so I may harvest and bring them down and put them in my fermented nut cheese. Yeah, along with the pico. It's going to be really interesting nut cheese spice blend tonight. Everything else is growing well. Wow. And then we got a bunch of wood stacked to dry. So here, if you put the wood up raised above the ground, and then if you put the wood raised above the ground, but then just cover it with a tarp, the humidity from the ground comes up and stays under the tarp, and your wood doesn't dry. Or if it's already dry, maybe the bugs will start to come and eat it. So we made this nice stick tarp with black plastic, the universal black plastic that you see all over the third world. And we got a lot of wood that's eventually going to become a future house. Various different varieties, seike, caujillo, yumbingue, really nice tropical hardwoods. So, gonna wait for it to dry and build a house. Oh, and the hillside down there is where we're gonna plant the Matoa tomorrow, and the other stuff. Well, the hillside right here is where we're gonna plant the Matoa and the Borneo rambutan, and then over there on the other side we're gonna put the Durio graveolens and the Durio graveolens hybrid. So that's like a higher altitude durians. But we are gonna have to take down a few of those tiny trees over there. So that they don't fall in the durians later on. Got to give the plants a little bit of water in case they got stressed out by the quad transport. I got to keep pinching the flowers off the African blue perennial basil. They are beautiful flowers, pink flowers, but if I don't, it's not going to stay in vegetative growth state. It's going to start flowering like crazy. I want it to keep producing lots of nice leaves. And the situ spinach is kind of branching out and becoming the ground cover that I wanted it to be. The yucca looks great. The grafted Redlands white sapote is great. Looks like I don't have to redo the tape just yet. And even the tamarind at the end of the row is not dead yet. Wow. Now this is a grafted avocado that's kind of been taken over by tomatoes that grew out of the compost that we put here. So I guess I'm going to have to trim them back a little bit. So the avocado is not really going to like being shaded in like this. They like it. It's going to like it dry, so I'm going to trim it back. Well, I'm back up here again the following morning, and we're making a special preparation of aged wood chips. Well, they're not aged yet, but we're going to age them in combination with some other things. So the biochar, the black stuff there, is going to absorb in various nutrients breaking down from the wood chips, the manure, the organic thermophosphate with trace minerals, and finally the calcium carbonate limestone that we're going to mix in afterwards. The porous surfaces of all the particles become like a sponge, soak it all up, and then slow release into the soil afterwards. We're going to use this as a mulch, possibly in vegetable garden, possibly around fruit trees, really wherever we want. But we're going to mount it up and let it sit for a while, maybe about 2 or 3 months before it starts to break down. The pile before it right here is already aged pretty well, so we're going to put it around some trees soon, probably today. Starting where we planted this Dubai, we're going to measure a contour line along the hillside and then appropriately space our Matoas and rambutans, and then plant other plants in between them like chop and drop plants to fill the space. The Dubai has been doing surprisingly good for getting full sun a lot recently. We planted them right before the dry season and they're still popping off new growth. There's just 1 or 2 that are doing kind of poorly, but the rest are doing well. So we're just going to continue adding water when we come up here. There's about 6 of those planted around here. We've got the pinto peanut carpet and the mulch pile surrounding the mangosteen. The mangosteen's really enjoying this kind of shade tent we put above it. And you can see some fresh manure and wood chips put around it, and that gray stuff is the organic thermophosphate with trace minerals that we added as well. Along this banana contour line, you can see we've chopped and dropped a lot of fresh flamingia around the plant, so that'll add some nice organic matter. Notice up here the banana leaves have these like nice cuts in them. And then down by the river, they're totally whole. If you see other Free Haven videos where they're down by the river. The reason is up here it's a bit more windy. We're up on the top of the mountain here, so you'll notice in like banana plantations in Florida and in coastal climates, they have even more cuts. They're like totally cut, every single banana leaf. So we see that up here where it's a bit windy. Up at Free Haven 3 as well, we see the cuts in the banana leaves. Whereas down by the river, they mostly stay whole. So this is the contour line of flamingia after we've chopped and dropped it for the first time. It's going to grow back and give us a lot more mulch so we can continue getting these bananas grow. And there's another contour line of flamingia right here on the other side that's also currently being chopped and dropped, so you can see the chop and drop in progress happening right there. As well, we have a double line here. There's also vetiver grass along the contour line. So when that gets really nice and big, we're going to chop and drop that as well with a weed whacker. It's going to be great. So this flamingia bunch right here, I'm going to grab it and pull it over, throw it on one of the peanut butter fruits. Make the mulch pile a little bit bigger. Now we've moved the Matoa plants to the planting location. They're still in the air pruning pot. We have 2 purple Matoa and 1 green Matoa. We're going to plant them along this contour line with some chop and drop plants in between. We got 3 Matoas in the ground, a grafted lemon, pink passion fruit, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. Check out AmazonFruitFestival.com.